Welcome, traveler of knowledge and seeker of calm. Tonight, we journey along the lifelines of our planet, the rivers. These ancient waterways have shaped civilizations, nurtured landscapes, and carried countless stories through time. From the mighty Nile that gave rise to the pharaohs, to the vast Amazon that shelters the world's richest biodiversity, to the Yangtze, which has been the beating heart of Chinese culture for millennia. Rivers are more than water. They are memory, they are survival, and they are silent guides of human history. Before we drift further, I invite you, gently, to pause. If you enjoy content like this, you may wish to subscribe and join this growing circle of curious minds. And if you feel like sharing, let me know in the comments which city, which country, and which river lies closest to you, and the time of day you're listening. I love seeing where our global audience flows in from. Now, let us ease into our first facts, moving calmly, like water downstream. Fact 1. A river, by its most basic definition, is a natural flowing watercourse. Usually freshwater, flowing toward an ocean, sea, lake, or another river. Yet each river is unique, some vast and roaring, others gentle and winding. Their energy has shaped valleys, carved canyons, and dictated where humans build homes, farms, and empires. Fact 2. The Nile, often celebrated as the longest river in the world, flows more than 6,650 kilometers, cutting across 11 countries in Africa. Its waters carried fertile silt that allowed one of the world's first great agricultural civilizations to rise along its banks. The Egyptians even aligned their calendar with the river's annual floods, treating the Nile not merely as a waterway, but as a godly presence. Fact 3. Rivers are not just about history. They remain vital today, fueling modern economies. The Yangtze in China, for example, is not only the third longest river in the world, but also the busiest river for shipping anywhere on Earth. Barges, cargo ships, and passenger ferries crowned its waters daily, transporting everything from coal to rice to luxury goods. It's a living artery of both tradition and modern industry. Fact 4. The Amazon River in South America is the largest river by discharge volume in the world. During the rainy season, it releases more water into the ocean than the next 7 largest rivers combined. So immense is its flow that it influences the Atlantic Ocean salinity for hundreds of kilometers offshore. Fact 5. Beyond commerce and geography, rivers hold cultural meaning. The Ganges in India is revered as sacred, believed by millions to purify the soul. Pilgrims bathe in its waters despite pollution, because the river is more than water. It is faith itself. The soothing truth is that rivers are timeless. They carry us from one fact to the next, gently connecting civilizations and nature alike. As we continue, let us think of them not as separate streams of knowledge, but as one connected flow. Let us drift gently upstream now, back to the beginnings of the world's greatest rivers. Every river has a source, a birth, often humble and hidden before it grows into something mighty. It is a reminder that even the greatest lifelines of Earth begin as a single drop of water. Fact 6. The Nile, though immense in size, begins in modest springs in the highlands of Burundi, Rwanda, and Uganda. These trickling headwaters join to form the White Nile, which later merges with the Blue Nile in Sudan. The Blue Nile itself originates from Lake Tana in Ethiopia. Only when the two meet does the true Nile take on its grandeur, rolling north through deserts and oases until it finally surrenders to the Mediterranean Sea. This joining of waters is not just physical. It is symbolic of how cultures from East Africa and the Horn of Africa both contributed to the history of ancient Egypt. Fact 7. The Amazon River, on the other hand, rises high in the Andes Mountains of Peru, where small streams tumble down glaciers and rugged peaks. One of the most distant sources is a stream called Carhuazanta, flowing from Mount Nevado Mismi. From that icy trickle grows the mightiest river system on Earth, sprawling across Peru, Colombia, Brazil, and beyond, feeding the lush Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of our planet. Fact 8. The Yangtze River begins in the Tibetan Plateau, a region so high and remote that its landscapes are often called the roof of the world. The river's source lies in glaciers and snowfields, and from there the Yangtze travels more than 6,300 kilometers, eventually reaching the East China Sea. Along the way, it sustains hundreds of millions of people, weaving a thread of continuity through Chinese history. Fact 9. The Mississippi River, the iconic giant of North America, starts as a small, quiet stream flowing from Lake Itasca in northern Minnesota. Visitors to the lake often wade across its gentle beginnings, never imagining that this little flow will become a river over 3,700 kilometers long, cutting through the heart of the United States and feeding one of the most important agricultural regions on Earth. Fact 10. Some rivers start not in mountains, but in vast wetlands. Take the Niger River in West Africa. Its headwaters emerge in the lush, green highlands of Guinea. But then, in a twist of geography, the river bends northeastward into the desert, before looping south again toward Nigeria and the Gulf of Guinea. This curious, boomerang-shaped journey has puzzled explorers for centuries and shaped trade, culture, and migration across West Africa. When we think of rivers as beginning from single springs, droplets, or glaciers, it is humbling. Just as small habits can shape a human life, so too do tiny streams shape civilizations. Over centuries, they carve valleys, sustain crops, and allow cultures to thrive. Fact 11. Rivers are also shaped by tectonics and geology. The Indus River, for example, originates in the Tibetan Plateau, but its journey was profoundly altered by the uplift of the Himalayas. These rising mountains redirected waters, cut valleys, and helped form the fertile Indus Plain, where one of humanity's earliest civilizations blossomed. Fact 12. In South America, the river begins modestly in Brazil, but grows into the second-largest river system on the continent, rivaled only by the Amazon. It travels nearly 4,900 kilometers, forming natural borders and eventually joining with the Uruguay River to create the De la Plata, a broad estuary that looks more like a sea than a river mouth. Today, cities like Buenos Aires and Montevideo rely on it for trade, culture, and identity. Fact 13. The Volga River, the longest in Europe, originates in the Valdai Hills of Russia, northwest of Moscow. Its source is a small spring, unremarkable in appearance. Yet from it emerges a river that has been central to Russian culture, literature, and economy for centuries. Flowing southward into the Caspian Sea, the Volga passes through cities that have shaped history, like Volgograd, once known as Stalingrad, where one of the most decisive battles of World War II was fought. Fact 14. Not all rivers have a single, simple source. Some, like the Danube, emerge from multiple small streams in the Black Forest of Germany. From these beginnings, the Danube grows into one of the most international rivers in the world, touching or flowing through 10 countries and linking cultures from Central to Eastern Europe. Fact 15. Some rivers are seasonal in their very birth. The Okavango River in southern Africa begins in Angola, but its fate is unusual. Instead of reaching an ocean, it flows into the sands of the Kalahari Desert, spreading out into the Okavango Delta, a vast inland wetland teeming with elephants, hippos, and birds. Its waters are fed by seasonal rains in the highlands. In years of heavy rain, the river surges with life. In drier years, it dwindles, showing how fragile and dependent rivers are on shifting climates. These origins are more than geography. They are metaphors of resilience and beginnings. Each river, no matter how mighty, starts small. Each current, no matter how strong, begins as a gentle spring. And as we follow these stories, we see how rivers mirror our own human journeys, from humble starts to legacies that shape the world. Fact 16. Rivers also carry a connection to time itself. Some rivers are ancient beyond imagination. The Finke River in Australia, for instance, is believed to be one of the oldest river systems in the world, with parts of its channel dating back more than 300 million years, though today much of it runs dry, only flowing after rare rains. It still traces a path carved long before humans even walked the earth. Fact 17. In contrast, some rivers are geologically young. The Yellow River, or Huanghe, in China, is about 1.6 million years old, young compared to rivers like the Nile or Amazon. Yet, in human history, it has already earned the title, the cradle of Chinese civilization. Its waters, rich in silt, have sustained farming for millennia, even as their floods have been both a blessing and a disaster. Fact 18. In exploring river origins, we also learn of glaciers. Many rivers, especially in colder regions, are glacier-fed. The Mekong River, which flows through 6 Southeast Asian countries, has its source in the Tibetan Plateau, fed by glaciers. But as climate change causes glaciers to shrink, the river's future flow is uncertain, a stark reminder of the delicate balance between nature and survival. As the waters rise from springs, glaciers, and rains, rivers weave themselves into the fabric of human history. Each source is a beginning, each current a story, each mouth an ending that is not really an end, but a continuation into seas and oceans, into clouds and rains, into new rivers again. The cycle continues, and so does our gentle journey. Now that we have traced rivers back to their origins, let us follow their flow into the heart of human history. Rivers are not just physical features. They are the very foundations of civilizations. Where there was fresh water, there was life. Where rivers nourished fertile plains, great cultures arose. Fact 19. The Nile River gave birth to one of the world's most remarkable civilizations, ancient Egypt. Each year, the Nile's flood deposited rich silt onto the riverbanks, creating fertile farmland in the midst of the desert. Without these annual floods, Egypt's culture, economy, and survival would have been impossible. This rhythm of flood and harvest was so central that the ancient Egyptians built their calendar around it. The Nile was not merely water, it was life itself, honored as the god Hapi, the bringer of abundance. Fact 20. Similarly, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in modern-day Iraq, Syria, and Turkey sustained the cradle of Mesopotamia. These rivers made possible the rise of the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. Irrigation systems built along their banks represent some of the earliest feats of engineering, allowing people to grow crops in otherwise arid lands. Mesopotamia's rivers also shaped culture. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the earliest known works of literature, is filled with imagery of river journeys and floods. Fact 21. In South Asia, the Indus River nurtured the Indus Valley civilization, one of the world's first urban societies. Over 4,000 years ago, cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa thrived along its banks. The river provided water for farming, trade routes for merchants, and clay for building. Even today, the Indus remains a lifeline for Pakistan, sustaining its agriculture and economy. Fact 22. The Yellow River in China, often called the Mother River, was central to the birth of Chinese civilization. Its fertile floodplains supported rice and millet farming, allowing populations to expand. Yet, the Yellow River has another name: China's sorrow. Its floods were unpredictable and devastating, sometimes wiping out entire communities. For centuries, people both revered and feared the river, recognizing its power to give life and to take it away. Fact 23. The Ganges River. Though not the cradle of a single ancient civilization in the same sense, became and remains deeply spiritual. Flowing from the Himalayas down into the plains of India and Bangladesh, it has long been regarded as sacred in Hinduism. Millions of people depend on it for drinking water, farming, and transportation. Beyond its practical uses, the Ganges is a symbol of purity and renewal, believed to wash away sins. This intertwining of geography, economy, and spirituality shows how rivers are more than physical. They are woven into human meaning. Fact 24. In the Americas, the Mississippi River shaped indigenous cultures long before European settlement. The Mississippian culture, centered around Cahokia near modern-day St. Louis, used the river to trade goods and ideas across vast distances. Later, for European settlers, the Mississippi became a highway for expansion, commerce, and connection, eventually turning into one of the most important trade arteries in the United States. Fact 25. The Amazon River, while less urbanized in ancient times compared to the Nile or Indus, sustained countless indigenous communities who built sophisticated knowledge systems of agriculture, fishing, and forestry. Archaeologists now believe the Amazon basin may have supported far more people in pre-Columbian times than once thought, with settlements interconnected by waterways. Rivers here acted as roads through dense rainforest, linking communities in ways invisible until recent discoveries. Fact 26. Europe's Danube River has been a corridor of culture for millennia. Celts, Romans, Byzantines, and Ottomans all used its waters for trade and defense. Today, the Danube flows through 10 countries, making it one of the most international rivers on Earth. It has long been a meeting place of cultures, economies, and ideas, binding together Central and Eastern Europe in a way no border ever could. Fact 27. In Africa, beyond the Nile, the Niger River has served as a cradle of civilization in West Africa. Along its banks, great empires such as Mali and Songhai thrived, powered by trade in gold, salt, and culture. Cities like Timbuktu rose as centers of learning and commerce, their prosperity tied directly to the Niger's flow. Even today, its waters are essential for farming and transportation in the region. Fact 28. The Mekong River in Southeast Asia, stretching across 6 countries, has long been central to the life of millions. Ancient Khmer civilization built its magnificent temples near the Mekong Basin, relying on its waters to sustain their agriculture. Today, it is still one of the most important rivers for rice cultivation, providing food security for a huge population. The pattern is clear. Where there is a river, there is life. Where there is life, there is culture. And where there is culture, there is history. Fact 29. The connection between rivers and trade was perhaps one of the greatest forces in shaping civilizations. Rivers acted as highways before roads or rails existed. The Volga River in Russia connected inland regions with the Caspian Sea, while the Rhine in Europe linked inland Germany with the North Sea, powering medieval trade and industrial growth alike. These rivers were the arteries of commerce long before the modern economy. Fact 30. Rivers also defined boundaries. The Rio Grande, for instance, forms much of the border between Mexico and the United States. The Danube has long been a dividing line between empires. The natural flow of rivers often determined where maps were drawn, shaping not just cultures, but nations themselves. Rivers cradled humanity, and in return, humanity celebrated them, feared them, harnessed them, and sometimes fought over them. The story of rivers is the story of civilization itself. As we drift gently along this theme, imagine the waters flowing not only through landscapes, but through time, connecting the ancient past to our present moment. Just as the Nile carried nutrients downstream for Egyptian farmers, rivers today carry energy, commerce, and connection to billions of people. They are as vital now as they were thousands of years ago. And in their steady flowing rhythm, we find not only history, but a gentle reminder of life's continuity. As we move forward, let us drift into the world of superlatives. The longest, widest, and mightiest rivers that shape continents and command. Just as mountains have their Everests and oceans their Pacific, rivers to have giants that define their categories. These rivers are not merely geographical features. They are forces of nature, mending landscapes, nourishing nations, and carrying the weight of history. Fact 31. The Nile River, often celebrated as the longest river in the world, stretches around 6,650 kilometers, or about 4,130 miles. Flowing through 11 countries, it passes deserts, wetlands, and cities before reaching the Mediterranean Sea. What makes the Nile unique is not only its length, but its role as the lifeline of Egypt and Sudan. Without it, the surrounding Sahara would remain uninhabitable. In many ways, the Nile is less a river and more a thread weaving together the cultures of northeastern Africa. Fact 32. For decades, there has been debate between the Nile and the Amazon over which is truly the world's longest. Some measurements suggest the Amazon might surpass the Nile, depending on how tributaries are counted. But while the Nile holds the title of length in most records, the Amazon easily claims another volume. The Amazon discharges more water into the ocean than the next 7 largest rivers combined. At its mouth, it pours out 209,000 cubic meters of water every second, creating a freshwater plume that stretches far into the Atlantic Ocean. Fact 33. The Amazon is also a river of incredible breadth. During the rainy season, it can swell to 30 miles wide in some places, broad enough to look like a sea. Travelers navigating its central stretches often cannot see the opposite bank, making it feel as if they are on an inland ocean. Its floodplain hosts the largest rainforest in the world, with biodiversity that sustains not only South America, but the planet's climate balance. Fact 34. In Asia, the Yangtze River stands as the longest on the continent and the third longest in the world, running about 6,300 kilometers. It is the economic powerhouse of China's inland freight. Along its banks are bustling megacities like Shanghai, Nanjing, and Wuhan, which depend on its waters for industry, tourism, and agriculture. The Yangtze also hosts the world's largest hydroelectric project, the Three Gorges Dam, a structure that symbolizes humanity's ambition to harness rivers for energy and control. Fact 35. Another Asian giant, the Yenisei River, flows through Mongolia and Russia into the Arctic Ocean. While less well known internationally, it is one of the world's longest northward-flowing rivers. Its basin covers a vast part of Siberia, serving as a highway through otherwise harsh landscapes. Ice covers the river for much of the year, yet during the thaw, it bursts into life, carrying goods, people, and power across the wilderness. Fact 36. In North America, the Mississippi-Missouri River system stretches nearly 6,275 kilometers, making it one of the longest in the world. The Mississippi has been called the spine of America, carrying grain, oil, and industry through the heart of the United States. Its tributaries drain 31 U.S. states and even part of Canada, making it a watershed of continental proportions. Mark Twain immortalized its culture in his works. But beyond literature, the Mississippi remains essential for the U.S. economy, linking farmland to global markets. Fact 37. Africa has another river giant besides the Nile, the Congo River. It is the deepest river in the world, with measured depths exceeding 220 meters, or more than 720 feet. That is deep enough to submerge the Eiffel Tower with room to spare. Its power is immense, carrying the second largest volume of water after the Amazon. Its rapids and waterfalls make it a challenge for navigation, but they also represent a colossal energy source, with hydroelectric potential to power much of Central Africa. Fact 38. The Mekong River of Southeast Asia is smaller in length compared to the Nile or Amazon. Yet, its importance is immense. Flowing 4,350 kilometers across 6 countries, it feeds one of the world's richest inland fisheries, providing food for tens of millions. The Mekong's waters sustain rice paddies, floating markets, and entire cultures. Its annual flood pulse is both a challenge and a blessing, depositing nutrients that renew the farmlands of Vietnam's Mekong Delta. Fact 39. The Obertish River system in Russia and Kazakhstan is another great Arctic-bound river. Flowing 5,410 kilometers, it drains immense territories and has been crucial for Siberian transport. Despite being locked in ice for much of the year, it carries oil, gas, and other goods, serving as a reminder that even remote rivers play major roles in global economies. Fact 40. The River of South America is the second longest on the continent, after the Amazon, stretching 4,880 kilometers, flowing through Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. It supports hydroelectric projects such as the massive dam, once the largest power-producing dam in the world. Its waters also form the falls, one of the most spectacular natural wonders on Earth, drawing tourists from across the globe. Fact 41. Another river often overlooked in its immensity is the Lena River in Siberia. It flows more than 4,400 kilometers into the Arctic Ocean. The Lena Delta is one of the largest in the world, covering an area almost as large as Switzerland. It becomes a haven for migratory birds during the brief Arctic summer when the tundra bursts into life. Fact 42. The Ganges-Brahmaputra system in South Asia forms the world's largest river delta, known as the Sundarbans. Spanning India and Bangladesh, this delta is a maze of waterways, forests, and tidal channels. It is home to mangrove ecosystems that protect coastlines and shelter the endangered Bengal tiger. Despite challenges of flooding and cyclones, the delta sustains over 160 million people, making it one of the most densely populated river regions on Earth. Fact 43. In Europe, the Volga River is the continent's longest, at 3,530 kilometers. For Russia, it is not just a river, but a national symbol. The Volga is central to culture, folklore, and industry, connecting cities like Volgograd, Kazan, and Nizhny Novgorod. Its reservoirs, sometimes called seas, are among the largest in the world. The river plays a crucial role in both history and modern commerce, linking inland Russia to the Caspian Sea. Fact 44. The Danube. Europe's second longest river may not match the Volga in size, but it surpasses it in cultural reach, flowing through 10 countries and 4 capitals. The Danube has been immortalized in music, literature, and art. It is both a dividing line and a bridge, a corridor of history from ancient Rome to modern Europe. Its basin is home to rare wildlife, including sturgeons that have swum its waters since prehistoric times. Fact 45. In Australia, the Murray-Darling River system stretches across the southeastern part of the continent. Though modest in size compared to the world's great rivers, it is Australia's most important waterway, sustaining agriculture in a largely dry land. Its basin produces much of the nation's food and wine, making it economically vital. When we step back and look at these rivers collectively, we see not just waterways, but giants, shaping continents, supporting billions, and writing chapters of human and natural history. Their flows are not measured in distance alone, but in lives touched, cultures formed, and landscapes carved. Now let us drift into one of the most fascinating truths about rivers. They are not only physical lifelines, but the very cradles of human civilization. From their fertile banks rose the earliest cities, the first organized economies, and the beginnings of culture as we know it. Without rivers, the story of humanity would look very different, perhaps far less advanced, and certainly less connected. Fact 46. The Nile River nurtured one of the world's earliest and most remarkable civilizations. Ancient Egypt. Each year, the river would flood its valley, depositing nutrient-rich silt that turned the desert into fertile farmland. This annual rhythm was so reliable that Egyptians built their calendar around it. Without the Nile, Egypt's pyramids, temples, and writing systems might never have existed. Herodotus, the Greek historian, once wrote that Egypt is the gift of the Nile. And even thousands of years later, this statement still holds truth. Fact 47. In Mesopotamia, which means land between the rivers, two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, supported the rise of Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria. These waters allowed the first large-scale farming communities to flourish around 6,000 years ago. Here, writing was invented in the form of cuneiform. Laws were codified, and city-states emerged. The rivers were not just irrigation channels. They were highways of culture, knowledge, and trade, giving humanity its first taste of organized society. Fact 48. The Indus River gave its name to the Indus Valley civilization, one of the world's great ancient cultures, which thrived around 2500 BCE in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. The cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were remarkably advanced, with drainage systems, urban planning, and trade connections stretching as far as Mesopotamia. The Indus waters made agriculture possible in a challenging environment, sustaining wheat, barley, and cotton cultivation long before these crops spread worldwide. Fact 49. In China, the Yellow River, known as the Mother River, is considered the birthplace of Chinese civilization. Its basin has supported farming communities for more than 7,000 years. But the Yellow River is both a giver and a destroyer of life. Its frequent floods, sometimes devastating, earned it the title China's Sorrow. Despite this, dynasties rose along its fertile plains, giving the world paper, silk, gunpowder, and many of the inventions that shaped global history. Fact 50. The Ganges, though central to modern India, has also played a deep historical role. Beyond being a source of water for farming, it became intertwined with spirituality and cultural identity. Ancient cities, like Varanasi, grew along its banks, becoming centers of learning and religion. Unlike many rivers that are remembered primarily for agriculture, the Ganges became a living symbol of continuity with traditions that remain alive today. Fact 51. The Yangtze River, while known for modern industry, was equally vital in ancient China. Its basin became a fertile heartland for rice cultivation, which supported population growth and empire expansion. Unlike wheat or barley along the Nile or Tigris, rice from the Yangtze basin created denser societies, setting the foundation for China's enduring role as one of the world's great civilizations. Fact 52. Rivers also played a quieter, but no less important role in Europe. The Danube, for instance, was not just a river of trade, but a boundary of empires. For the Romans, it marked the edge of their control, separating their territories from those of the tribes beyond. Over time, it became a corridor of exchange, carrying goods, armies, and later ideas that shaped the continent. Fact 53. In Central America, rivers such as the Griava and Usumacinta supported the Maya civilization. They watered farmlands that fed growing populations, while also serving as trade routes connecting cities like Palenque and Tikal. While the Maya are often remembered for their pyramids and astronomy, rivers sustained the agricultural base that made such achievements possible. Fact 54. In Africa, beyond the Nile, rivers like the Niger served as engines of civilization. Along its course rose empires such as Mali and Songhai, which thrived on trade in gold, salt, and learning. The city of Timbuktu, perched near the river's bend, became a beacon of knowledge, home to libraries and scholars whose writings continue to inspire historians today. Fact 55. The role of rivers as civilizational anchors is echoed in South America as well. Long before Europeans arrived, the Amazon and its tributaries supported vast networks of indigenous peoples. Recent research suggests there may have been large, interconnected societies living in the basin, with agricultural systems adapted to the rainforest environment. These rivers were not just highways through the jungle, but lifelines of knowledge, trade, and survival. Fact 56. One must also remember that rivers shaped not only cities, but belief systems. Nearly every ancient culture revered its rivers as deities, spirits, or sacred forces. To ancient Egyptians, the Nile was divine. To Hindus, the Ganges is a goddess. In Mesopotamia, the rivers had patron gods. And in China, the Yellow River was the source of myth and poetry. This reverence shows us that people understood rivers not only as physical realities, but as spiritual ones, binding nature and humanity together. Fact 57. Even when civilizations faced collapse, rivers remained constants. Floods may have destroyed cities, droughts may have shifted populations, but rivers continued to flow, waiting for new cultures to emerge. This cyclical relationship makes rivers unlike any other natural force. They are both timeless and ever-changing. When we step back, the pattern is clear. Wherever there is a river, there is the possibility of life, settlement, and culture. Without rivers, our civilizations might not have taken root, and humanity's great leap into writing, architecture, and trade may have been delayed by centuries, perhaps millennia. Rivers are, in every sense, the first highways of humanity, channels of food, travel, and imagination. And though centuries have passed, their role as lifelines of culture remains undiminished. The Amazon River is unlike any other, stretching across South America, weaving through the heart of the rainforest. It is a system so vast that even today, scientists continue to discover new tributaries, species, and ecosystems connected to it. Fact 58. The Amazon is the world's largest river by discharge, releasing more water into the ocean than the next 7 largest rivers combined. On average, it pours about 209,000 cubic meters per second into the Atlantic. To imagine this, picture 1,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools being emptied every second. This immense volume not only feeds the ocean, but also influences global weather patterns. Fact 59. While the Nile is slightly longer, depending on measurement methods, the Amazon's length is still extraordinary. At over 6,400 kilometers, it flows from the Andes Mountains in Peru all the way to the Atlantic coast of Brazil. Along this journey, it passes through one of the most diverse ecosystems on Earth, the Amazon rainforest, which itself produces about 20% of the world's oxygen. Fact 60. The Amazon basin covers more than 7 million square kilometers, an area larger than the entire European Union. This basin is home to around 1,100 tributaries, 17 of which are longer than 1,500 kilometers. In essence, the Amazon is not one river, but a colossal network of waterways that functions as the circulatory system of an entire continent. Fact 61. During the rainy season, the Amazon grows so wide that in some places it stretches over 40 kilometers across. At this size, one might mistake it for a vast inland sea. Travelers who cross by boat often find themselves surrounded by water, with no shore visible on either side. It is a humbling reminder of the river's magnitude. Fact 62. The Amazon supports an astonishing array of life. More than 2,200 species of fish have been identified, more than those found in the entire Atlantic Ocean. Among them is the fearsome piranha, but also the graceful pink river dolphin, an animal steeped in indigenous myths and legends. New species continue to be discovered regularly, making the river a living library of biodiversity. Fact 63. The pink river dolphin, or boto, is a creature unique to the Amazon basin. Unlike ocean dolphins, it has adapted to maneuver through flooded forests with a flexible neck and long snout to reach between tree roots. Local legends often describe it as a shapeshifter, transforming into a handsome human at night to wander villages. These myths show how deeply the river's creatures are woven into cultural imagination. Fact 64. The Amazon also houses the electric eel, an animal capable of producing electric shocks of up to 600 volts. For indigenous communities, this creature was both feared and respected, a symbol of the river's hidden power. Even today, it inspires scientific research into electricity and bioengineering. Fact 65. Perhaps the most remarkable feature of the Amazon is its seasonal flood pulse. Each year, rains cause the river to swell and spill into the forest, creating an immense flooded ecosystem known as the 4 months. Trees stand submerged, and fish swim among their branches. When the waters recede, fertile soils are left behind, supporting both wildlife and local farming communities. Fact 66. The Amazon influences not only South America, but the entire planet. Its rainforest acts as a carbon sink, absorbing vast amounts of carbon dioxide. Its water cycle generates atmospheric rivers, invisible streams of moisture that drift across the sky, watering distant lands. In this way, the Amazon is not just a regional river, but a global force. Fact 67. Human history along the Amazon is equally rich. Long before Europeans arrived, indigenous civilizations thrived along its banks. Evidence suggests large populations built earthworks, roads, and even managed forests through controlled planting. The idea that the Amazon was untouched wilderness is now being challenged by new archaeological discoveries, showing instead that it was a managed landscape shaped by human ingenuity. Fact 68. Today, the Amazon River is central to both culture and economy. It provides transportation in a region where roads are scarce. Boats are the highways here, carrying goods, families, and dreams across thousands of kilometers. For cities like Manaz, perched along its banks, the river is both a lifeline and a stage upon which daily life unfolds. Fact 69. The river is also deeply tied to global trade. Manaz became famous during the rubber boom of the late 19th century, when latex harvested from rubber trees turned the city into a center of wealth and luxury. Opera houses, European architecture, and theaters appeared in the middle of the rainforest, all funded by the wealth carried downriver. Fact 70. But the Amazon's abundance also comes with challenges. Deforestation, mining, and overfishing threaten its delicate balance. Yet, even here, the river reminds us of resilience. Local communities continue to rely on its waters. Scientists work to understand its ecosystems, and movements grow to protect it for future generations. Fact 71. Among its lesser-known wonders is the phenomenon of the pororoca, a tidal bore where the Atlantic Ocean pushes against the Amazon's mouth, creating waves that travel inland for kilometers. Surfers have even ridden these waves deep into the forest. A surreal blending of ocean and river. This rare event highlights the interconnectedness of the planet's waters. Fact 72. Finally, the Amazon is a place of contrasts. It is both gentle and fierce, nurturing and dangerous, known yet mysterious. To drift along its currents is to experience one of Earth's greatest marvels, a reminder that rivers are not just water, but forces of life, culture, and continuity. As we leave the Amazon for now, let its currents remind us of the infinite ways rivers sustain not only the natural world, but the very fabric of our existence. Now let us journey to Asia, where the Yangtze River flows through the heart of China. This river, known in Mandarin as Changjiang, meaning the Long River, is the third longest in the world, stretching over 6,300 kilometers. From the glaciers of the Tibetan Plateau to the East China Sea near Shanghai, it is a ribbon of water that has witnessed dynasties rise, cities flourish, and cultures transform. Fact 73. The Yangtze is the longest river contained entirely within one country. Unlike the Nile or the Amazon, which flow across multiple nations, the Yangtze belongs entirely to China, winding through 11 provinces and serving as a unifying thread in its vast geography. Fact 74. More than 400 million people live within its basin. That is nearly 1 out of every 15 people on Earth. This immense population density has made the Yangtze one of the most significant rivers for human settlement, economy, and culture. Fact 75. Historically, the Yangtze has been called the cradle of Chinese civilization. Archaeological findings along its banks reveal early agricultural societies dating back thousands of years, cultivating rice and building communities. The river's fertile plains became the foundation for a continuous cultural legacy, linking past to present. Fact 76. One of the Yangtze's most iconic features is the Three Gorges. These dramatic limestone valleys, with steep cliffs plunging into the river, create a landscape of awe-inspiring beauty. For centuries, poets, painters, and travelers have described the gorges as places of both danger and splendor, where mist curls around peaks and currents twist with force. Fact 77. The Three Gorges Dam, completed in 2012, is the largest hydroelectric power station in the world. It generates over 22,000 megawatts of electricity, enough to supply millions of households. The dam represents both the promise and the controversy of modern technology, providing clean energy while altering ecosystems and displacing communities. Fact 78. Beyond hydroelectricity, the Yangtze is a vital artery for trade. Ships carry goods from inland provinces to coastal cities, making it one of the busiest waterways on Earth. From coal to manufactured products, from rice to luxury goods, the river facilitates China's role in the global economy. Fact 79. The river is also home to unique and rare wildlife. The most famous is perhaps the now functionally extinct Baji, or Yangtze, river dolphin. Once celebrated in local folklore, this species declined rapidly in the late 20th century due to pollution, overfishing, and shipping traffic. Its story is a sobering reminder of the fragile balance between human progress and nature's survival. Fact 80. Yet hope persists. The Yangtze Basin remains rich in biodiversity. It supports species like the Chinese paddlefish, which sadly was declared extinct in recent years, and the finless porpoise, which conservationists are striving to protect. Wetlands along the river also serve as vital stopovers for migratory birds, including the endangered Siberian crane. Fact 81. The Yangtze has always been more than a river. It is a cultural symbol. Ancient Chinese literature often describes it as eternal, a flowing witness to the passage of time. The great river flows eastward. One poem begins, capturing the sense of continuity that the Yangtze embodies for millions. Fact 82. Cities along the Yangtze, such as Wuhan, Nanjing, and Shanghai, showcase the river's influence on urban growth. Each city has grown as a hub of trade, education, and culture thanks to its position along this mighty current. Shanghai, where the river meets the sea, has become one of the world's largest ports, a testament to the Yangtze's economic power. Fact 83. The Yangtze also plays a role in tourism and travel. River cruises through the Three Gorges attract visitors from around the world who seek both relaxation and education. These journeys often highlight a blend of natural beauty and historical landmarks, from ancient temples to modern engineering feats. Fact 84. Beyond human use, the river influences climate and agriculture. Its waters irrigate rice paddies that feed hundreds of millions of people. Seasonal floods, while sometimes destructive, also deposit fertile silt across farmlands, renewing the soil as they have for thousands of years. Fact 85. Floods have been both a blessing and a challenge throughout history. Major floods of the Yangtze have caused immense loss of life and damage. But they have also shaped infrastructure, policies, and community resilience. The modern system of dams, levees, and monitoring represents centuries of learning to live with a river of such immense force. Fact 86. In spiritual terms, the Yangtze has long been seen as a sacred river. Taoist and Buddhist traditions often connect water with life, wisdom, and harmony. Shrines and temples along the riverbanks reflect this reverence, offering places of quiet meditation by the flowing waters. Fact 87. The river is not only important within China, but also for the world. The goods transported along its waters fuel global markets. The energy it produces contributes to international sustainability goals. Its ecological health impacts migratory species that travel far beyond China's borders. Fact 88. Despite modernization, the Yangtze remains a river of contrasts. It flows past ancient villages where traditions endure, and it glides by skyscrapers that symbolize rapid development. It is a thread connecting deep history to the modern era. Ancient poetry gave Fact 89. The Yangtze also serves as a reminder of adaptability. For millennia, humans and nature have shaped one another along its course. And even as challenges grow, from pollution to climate change, the river continues to flow, teaching us resilience, patience, and continuity. Fact 90. To sit by the Yangtze, whether in a quiet village or in bustling Shanghai, is to feel the pulse of civilization itself. Its waters whisper of emperors, farmers, engineers, and dreamers. It is a river that holds not only water, but the story of a people and their place in the world. As we leave the Yangtze, we carry with us a sense of both wonder and humility. Like the Nile and the Amazon, it is more than a geographical feature. It is a lifeline, shaping economies, cultures, and futures. Now let us cross to North America, where another mighty river winds its way through a continent. The Mississippi River, flowing more than 3,700 kilometers from northern Minnesota to the Gulf of Mexico, is not only one of the longest rivers in the world, but also one of the most culturally iconic. It is a river of history, of economy, of music, and of myth. Fact 91. The name Mississippi comes from the Ojibwe word Mississippi, meaning Great River. For indigenous peoples, the Mississippi was not just a highway of water, but also a sacred landscape, a source of food, and a defining presence in their spiritual traditions. Fact 92. The Mississippi drains an enormous basin that covers about 41% of the continental United States. Water from 31 different states flows into it, making it a true national river. Its vast watershed connects mountains, plains, and forests, linking diverse ecosystems. Fact 93. The Mississippi is divided into three main sections: the Upper Mississippi, the Middle Mississippi, and the Lower Mississippi. Each has its own character. The upper stretch is dotted with scenic bluffs and smaller towns. The middle becomes wider and swifter, and the lower portion is a vast water highway carrying ships, barges, and stories. Fact 94. Economically, the Mississippi is a backbone of American trade. Barges carry goods like corn, soybeans, petroleum, and steel down its waters. It is estimated that more than 90% of the United States agricultural exports are transported via the Mississippi River system. Fact 95. Culturally, the Mississippi has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music. Mark Twain's novels, particularly The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, immortalized the river as a symbol of freedom and exploration. Later, blues and jazz musicians of the Mississippi Delta gave the world rhythms and songs that still shape music today. Fact 96. The Mississippi Delta, where the river meets the Gulf of Mexico, is one of the most fertile agricultural regions in the United States. The silt deposited by the river over thousands of years created soils rich enough to sustain large-scale farming, which in turn shaped the region's economy and history. Fact 97. Flooding has always been both a blessing and a curse. The Great Mississippi Flood of 1927 remains one of the most devastating natural disasters in American history, displacing hundreds of thousands of people. Yet, like the Nile and the Yangtze, the Mississippi's floods also replenish soil, sustaining life along its banks. Fact 98. The river supports an extraordinary array of wildlife. More than 240 species of fish, along with countless birds, mammals, and reptiles, depend on its waters and wetlands. Bald eagles often nest along its bluffs, and migratory birds use it as a flyway connecting Canada to Central and South America. Fact 99. The river has also played a critical role in transportation and exploration. Before railroads and highways, the Mississippi was America's superhighway. Steamboats in the 19th century carried people and goods, transforming cities like St. Louis, Memphis, and New Orleans into bustling trade hubs. Fact 100. Today, the Mississippi remains central to tourism. Riverboat cruises recall the age of paddle steamers, while travelers visit scenic stretches such as the Great River Road, a network of highways following the river for thousands of kilometers. Tourism here combines luxury, history, and nature, all elements that continue to draw people to its waters. Fact 101. The river also has deep symbolic meaning. For settlers, reaching the Mississippi meant reaching the frontier, a threshold to the unknown west. For enslaved people in the South, the river often represented a path to freedom and hope. Fact 102. Environmental challenges, however, persist. Agricultural runoff creates dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico, where nutrient pollution causes oxygen depletion. Conservation efforts seek to balance the river's economic utility with the need to preserve ecosystems that have thrived for millennia. Fact 103. The Mississippi has influenced not only culture and economy, but also politics. Control of the river during the American Civil War was a decisive factor. When Union forces captured key points along its course, they effectively split the Confederacy in two, hastening the war's end. Fact 104. The sheer size of the Mississippi can be hard to grasp. At its widest point, near Benna, Minnesota, it is only about 11 meters across. But as it flows south, it swells, reaching more than 18 kilometers across at certain points in its lower section. This transformation mirrors the way the river grows in significance as it gathers tributaries. Fact 105. Among its many tributaries, the Missouri River is the largest. When combined, the Missouri-Mississippi system is the fourth longest river system in the world, stretching over 6,275 kilometers. This connection underscores how rivers interlace to form continental lifelines. Fact 106. New Orleans, at the river's mouth, exemplifies the cultural fusion made possible by the Mississippi. French, Spanish, African, and American influences converged here, giving rise to jazz, Creole, cuisine, and a vibrant city shaped by water and trade. Without the Mississippi, New Orleans would not exist as we know it. Fact 107. Engineers and hydrologists continually work to manage the Mississippi's course. The river has a natural tendency to shift, with the Atchafalaya River threatening to capture its flow. Dams, levees, and control structures keep it in place for now. But the power of the river always reminds us that control is never permanent. Fact 108. The Mississippi's beauty lies not only in its quiet moments, early morning fog rising above its waters, flocks of geese breaking the stillness, the hum of a passing barge. All are part of the living rhythm of a river that has shaped a nation. Fact 109. Just as the Nile is Africa's gift and the Yangtze China's lifeline, the Mississippi is America's great river. It flows through history, economy, and imagination. To rest by its banks is to sense the heartbeat of a continent. The Mississippi, with its grandeur and complexity, invites us to reflect on the way rivers connect land, culture, and people. From Ojibwe stories to jazz songs, from fertile deltas to powerful floods, it is a reminder that rivers are not only waterways, they are teachers of resilience and renewal. Now, let us travel to Europe, where one of the continent's most enchanting rivers winds its way across borders and histories. The Danube River, stretching nearly 2,860 kilometers, is the second longest river in Europe after the Volga. It begins in the Black Forest of Germany, as small streams merge together, and then journeys eastward, touching or flowing through 10 different countries before emptying into the Black Sea. Fact 110. The Danube is the only major European river that flows from west to east. Most of Europe's other great rivers, such as the Seine or the Rhine, flow toward the Atlantic. The Danube, however, cuts across Central and Eastern Europe, creating a unique natural corridor that has been vital for trade and culture. Fact 111. The river passes through 4 capital cities: Vienna, Bratislava, Budapest, and Belgrade. Few rivers in the world can boast of being so intimately connected with political and cultural centers. Imagine sitting in a cafe in Vienna, overlooking the Danube, and realizing that the same waters will soon flow past the Parliament of Hungary in Budapest. Then glide under Belgrade's bridges before eventually reaching the Black Sea. Fact 112. The Danube Basin is home to more than 80 million people. It supports economies, tourism, agriculture, and transportation, making it one of Europe's most significant regions. Its waters feed vineyards, power hydroelectric stations, and sustain shipping routes that carry goods across nations. Fact 113. The river has been celebrated in art and music. Johann Strauss II's Waltz the Blue Danube remains one of the most famous pieces of classical music ever composed. Its sweeping, flowing melody captures the elegance of the river and has become an unofficial anthem of Austria. Fact 114. Historically, the Danube marked the frontier of the Roman Empire. Roman legions built forts along its banks, and for centuries it served as a border between empires, cultures, and languages. Today, instead of dividing, it unites diverse peoples through shared waterways. Fact 115. The Danube Delta, where the river meets the Black Sea, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is one of Europe's last great wetlands, home to more than 300 species of birds and countless fish. Pelicans, cormorants, and storks fill its skies, while reeds and waterways form a labyrinth of life. Fact 116. Tourism along the Danube is a thriving industry. Luxury river cruises glide from city to city, offering passengers the chance to experience centuries of culture. Travelers can wander through Baroque palaces in Vienna, admire the Parliament building illuminated in Budapest, or sample traditional Serbian cuisine in Belgrade, all connected by the river's graceful flow. Fact 117. The Danube is also crucial for transportation. The Rhine-Main-Danube Canal, completed in the 20th century, created a waterway that connects the North Sea to the Black Sea. This allows ships to travel across the heart of Europe, linking oceans through rivers and canals. Fact 118. The river has inspired myths and legends. In some traditions, it was personified as a river god, while in folklore, it often appears as a symbol of strength and fertility. To live near the Danube has always been to feel its presence in daily life, both as a resource and as a story. Fact 119. The Danube also plays a role in Europe's biodiversity. Its floodplains and forests provide habitats for rare species, including the white-tailed eagle and the European pond turtle. Conservation projects aim to restore wetlands and maintain water quality, ensuring that the river remains a sanctuary of life. Fact 120. The beauty of the Danube lies not just in its physical features, but in the connections it fosters. Imagine a traveler starting in Germany, following the river through Austria's vineyards, drifting into Hungary's plains, and eventually reaching the Black Sea. Along the way, they encounter languages, cuisines, and traditions, all woven together by the current of one river. Fact 121. One of the most dramatic stretches of the Danube is the Gates Gorge, located between Serbia and Romania. Here, the river narrows between steep cliffs, creating a breathtaking natural passage. Ancient peoples carved inscriptions into the rocks, and today, massive hydroelectric dams harness its power. Fact 122. Culturally, the Danube has often been viewed as a bridge between East and West. While Vienna represents the grandeur of Western Europe, cities farther downstream, such as Ruse or Tulcea in Bulgaria and Romania, reflect Eastern traditions. The river carries both worlds in its flow, uniting them in its journey. Fact 123. In literature, the Danube often symbolizes time and continuity. Writers describe it as a ribbon that ties together generations and empires. Just as water flows ceaselessly, human history along its banks unfolds in waves of migration, trade, and cultural exchange. Fact 124. The river continues to shape economies. Hydroelectric dams, particularly those at the Iron Gates, provide renewable energy for millions of people. Farmers use its waters for irrigation, while industries depend on it for transport. Yet, the challenge remains: balancing human use with ecological preservation. Fact 125. The Danube has also witnessed conflict. Armies have crossed it, bridges have been destroyed and rebuilt, and empires have risen and fallen on its banks. But today, in a time of peace, it stands as a symbol of cooperation. As countries along its basin work together to protect and share its waters. Fact 126. The river's changing colors have fascinated observers. Some days, it appears deep green, reflecting forests and hills. On others, it takes on a silvery sheen, mirroring the sky. It is rarely truly blue, despite Strauss's waltz, but perhaps the music captured not the literal color, but the dreamlike feeling the river inspires. Fact 127. Standing on one of its banks, you may notice how calm its surface can be, yet beneath, currents swirl and lives unfold. Fishermen cast their nets, ferries move steadily, children play at its edges. The Danube is as much about human life as it is about natural wonder. Fact 128. As Europe modernizes, the Danube remains timeless. It is the same river that Roman soldiers guarded, that Strauss celebrated in music, and that modern tourists photograph from riverboats. It flows across centuries, across borders, carrying with it the essence of Europe itself. The Danube reminds us that rivers are not simply bodies of water. They are threads of history, arteries of culture, and cradles of civilization. Flowing from the Black Forest to the Black Sea, it whispers the stories of millions of lives, then and now. Now, let us cross the Atlantic and follow the winding path of one of the world's most iconic rivers, the Mississippi, known as the Father of Waters. The Mississippi stretches over 3,766 kilometers from its source at Lake Itasca in Minnesota, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Its journey divides the United States into East and West, shaping the nation's culture, economy, and history in profound ways. Fact 129. The Mississippi River is the fourth longest river system in the world. When combined with its main tributary, the Missouri River, together, they create a vast network that drains about 41% of the continental United States. This makes it one of the most significant river basins on Earth. Fact 130. The name Mississippi comes from the Ojibwe word Mississippi, meaning Great River. Indigenous peoples, including the Ojibwe, Dakota, and many others, lived along its banks long before European exploration. They fished its waters, farmed its fertile plains, and built civilizations that thrived on its resources. Fact 131. The river served as a vital highway of commerce and culture. Steamboats, with their iconic paddle wheels, once filled the Mississippi during the 19th century, transporting cotton, lumber, and people. Towns along the river grew wealthy from trade, and bustling ports emerged in cities like St. Louis, Memphis, and New Orleans. Fact 132. The Mississippi has long inspired literature and art. Perhaps the most famous example is Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which depicts life along the river with humor, sharp observation, and a sense of freedom. For Twain, the river was both a literal waterway and a metaphor for the currents of American life. Fact 133. The Mississippi Delta region, near New Orleans, is a cradle of American music. Jazz, blues, and gospel all trace their roots to communities along the river's lower stretches. The rhythms of the river seem to echo in the beats of drums, the wail of saxophones, and the soulful voices that rose from its towns. Fact 134. The river's power is both a gift and a challenge. Its annual floods enriched the soil, making the Mississippi Valley one of the most fertile agricultural zones in the world. Yet, floods have also caused devastation. The Great Mississippi Flood of 1927 remains one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history, displacing hundreds of thousands of people. Fact 135. To manage its waters, an elaborate system of levees, locks, and dams was built. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers oversees much of this system, striving to balance navigation, flood control, and environmental preservation. Yet, the river reminds us constantly that it cannot be fully controlled. Fact 136. The Mississippi River Basin is an ecological treasure. It provides habitat for more than 260 species of fish, 50 species of mammals, and countless migratory birds. Bald eagles, pelicans, and herons all thrive in its wetlands and forests. Its marshes are vital resting spots for birds that travel from Canada to South America. Fact 137. The economic importance of the Mississippi cannot be overstated. Barges carry millions of tons of grain, coal, petroleum, and chemicals each year. It remains one of the busiest commercial waterways in the world, connecting America's heartland with global markets. Fact 138. Culturally, the Mississippi is deeply symbolic. To many, it represents freedom and possibility, a path to new beginnings. For others, it is a reminder of history, including the struggles of enslaved people who worked on plantations along its banks. Like the river itself, its story is vast and layered. Fact 139. The river's size can be overwhelming. At Lake Itasca, the source is narrow enough to step across. But near New Orleans, the river can be more than a mile wide. Its scale transforms as it travels southward, mirroring the diversity of landscapes and communities along its path. Fact 140. The Mississippi Delta, where the river meets the Gulf of Mexico, is a dynamic ecosystem. Its wetlands buffer storms, filter water, and support fisheries. Yet, due to erosion, rising seas, and human intervention, large portions of the delta are disappearing. Conservationists work tirelessly to restore its fragile balance. Fact 141. The Mississippi is also a river of stories. Folktales, songs, and poems all celebrate its presence. From Native American legends to blues ballads, its waters have carried imagination as much as they have carried trade. Fact 142. Luxury river cruises have grown in popularity in recent years, allowing travelers to experience the Mississippi in comfort. On board, guests enjoy Southern cuisine, live jazz, and scenic views of rolling hills and grand plantations. Tourism brings a new kind of economy to the river, combining relaxation with cultural exploration. Fact 143. One of the river's most striking features is its meanders. Over time, the Mississippi has carved loops and oxbow lakes into the landscape, changing its course dramatically. Entire towns that once stood on its banks now find themselves miles away from the current river channel. Fact 144. Scientists study the Mississippi to better understand sediment, transport, and delta formation. The river carries enormous amounts of silt, which it deposits near its mouth. These sediments once built new land each year, but modern levees prevent much of this natural process, contributing to coastal loss. Fact 145. Perhaps the most poetic aspect of the Mississippi is its continuity. For thousands of years, humans have stood on its shores, watching its waters flow. Despite wars, industrial revolutions, and cultural change, the river has remained constant. Flowing southward, as if whispering, life continues. Fact 146. To stand by the Mississippi at sunset is to feel a profound sense of calm. The golden light spreads across its waters. Barges move silently in the distance, and birds circle overhead. It is a reminder of how rivers connect not just places, but moments in human experience. The Mississippi is more than a river. It is a thread of history, a stage for culture, an engine for the economy, and a force of nature that shapes lives every day. Its journey from Minnesota to the Gulf reflects the breadth of America itself, vast, diverse, and ever-flowing. From the wide bends of the Mississippi